Hello, welcome to gagrel.net. My name is Wally Sarkisian. Today we have our friend. He was here before, and he's Vic Gerami, and he's every time he creates some new organization, and so let's talk a little bit about TAL, and then we'll go from there. Vic, welcome.
Thanks, Wally. It's great to be on your show again. Always a pleasure.
You're very welcome. So tell us, what is the latest update TAL is doing?
Oh, sure. So I'll briefly tell you what TAL is about. TAL stands for Truth and Accountability League. It's a nonprofit organization, an advocacy organization that I launched about 3 years ago after the invasion of Artsakh. Its mission is to advocate for the Armenian community, mostly in regards to defamation, disinformation, propaganda, at the level of media, academics, public policy, and such. So we do a lot of different things. We have multiple initiatives. One of the big ones that we worked on this year, our partnership with LA County Commission on Human Relations and LA versus Hate. We did a town hall in May to address the anti-Armenian, Armenophobic flyers that were posted all over LA, Beverly Hills, Glendale, etc. And then I helped them design a poster, Armenians Against Hate poster, encouraging Armenians to call 211 if they experience hate incidents or hate crimes. And what we're now working on is the PSAs related to that. So it's Armenians Against Hate PSAs to air on traditional media and social media, encouraging Armenian Americans to call 211 if they have, experienced any kind of a hate act, incident, or hate crime. And of course, we do all types of other advocacy. There's just so much need and demand with everything that's happening with Artsakh, the Artsakh genocide, and Armenia, etc.
So do you have a case that you guys worked on it successfully?
Yeah, I mean we've completed a lot of things. For example, when the London Transit Authority started to post these propaganda posters from Azerbaijan all over the place, promoting Azerbaijan as this place of tolerance and depicting Dadivank Monastery as Azerbaijani. We got moving, and we worked with them to take those down. A few months ago, the New York Metropolitan Museum had switched the bio of the artist Isanovsky from Russian to Ukrainian, and which most people know he was Armenian. So we advocated for that. We got them to change that back and actually do a long version of the bio, mentioning that he had Armenian heritage. Both of his parents were Armenian. Done a lot of things. When city of Beverly Hills was so, I don't know what the word is, weak in their response to the anti-Armenian flyers, I worked with the mayor of West Hollywood, who's a friend of mine, to work with the Beverly Hills council members to have them do an outreach to the Armenian community and meet. Of course, not much came out of it. They met, but I think most of it was just for optics. But that's on the city of Beverly Hills. It doesn't stop us from doing what we need to do. Right now, we're also trying to bring awareness to politicians and elected officials who have been making these they look like infomercials for Azerbaijan, praising Azerbaijan for its supposed democracy and human rights and tolerance of different ethnicities and religions, which we all know it's just nonsense. It's fiction. But California State Senator Josh Newman is one of them that made this video 2 years ago. This is after the invasion of Artsakh, and yet he's yet to apologize for it. We've reached out to him in multiple ways. So have other people, and he just refuses to apologize for making this video praising a nation that committed a genocide and was in the middle of committing a genocide when he made it. So that list goes on and on, Wally, as to what we do and everything that we advocate for. I mean, I wake up every day with my inbox and my social media DMs just filled with things that need to be investigated or addressed, and things like that.
And so this is all you do alone yourself, or you have people helping you?
Uh, mostly me and a couple of volunteers, and I also work with other organizations too. Let's see. So I work with Armenophobia.org. It's a great organization on some initiatives. Also, Armenian Action Network. We work with them on. We're trying to get Armenian as an option on the next census when they do the surveying, so that Armenians can be counted as their own ethnic group and get funding. Oh yeah, one of the other recent things we did was we circulated a letter to really denounce the Turkish lobby's efforts of Armenian genocide denial in the U.S. And we had, I think, over 30 organizations and a couple of dozen high-profile public figures sign it. We sent it to public offices and media and organizations, human rights organizations, and just bringing attention and light to what the Turkish lobby is doing still in the United States to sort of rewrite history, continue its genocide denial.
But United States have already recognized. So what is they gonna do? They're gonna reverse it?
Well, I think they think they can do anything because Erdogan and Aliyev are sort of out of control and no one is checking them. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's what they think. But aside from that, they want to prevent other nations from recognizing the Armenian genocide, and they also want to make sure that there are no repercussions from the fact that President Biden recognized the Armenian genocide in 2021. As far as lawsuits or claims to property and such, I mean, those that know that most of Anatolia is historic Armenia, and how many millions of Armenians' properties and wealth and money and such were just basically confiscated by the Turkish government. So they're going to fight this. They're going to fight this for the long haul, and we're going to fight back.
Now tell me this. You work lots, so local politicians, district mayor of Glendale and all that stuff. Now here is this picture. Tell me why there is Armenian is not here. Look at this. Why there is no Armenian there?
I have to look and see what that is. United States federal government.
This is all federal government. This was on Twitter, and everybody's doing it. The Secretary of State is a Jewish descent, Treasury, and you name it, all of them. So why there is no Armenian there?
Is this? I can't see the topic, the top line or anything.
It says United. It says United States federal government, Biden. That's what it says.
These are all the different positions held in the federal government?
That's what it shows. Like this was on the Twitter, how much truth is, but I know some of them is true. I know the Treasury is the Jewish, and the Secretary of State is Jewish, and many others. But somebody put all this together, but nobody challenged them. So I'm wondering, why we're going too much into this local politicians, which they have no control on anything. We don't go like in before during Reagan even speechwriter was Armenian. Governor of California was Armenia. There was so many consuls, but now we don't
I
have.
think I see your point now. I think you're saying, why are there not much of any Armenians in high positions in our federal government?
Correct.
I wish I had the answer to that.
But we were, because I see, I go those shows and now I don't go anymore. I'm just so sick of it. They bring in all those politicians like Adam Schiff. I don't know how many times I interviewed the guy. Adam Schiff, like during Artsakh invasion, he could have walked from the Capitol to White House, told President Biden do something, but they don't do it. They just talk for political purpose to hold their position.
Listen, Wally,
all of them.
My radio show is called The Blunt Post, so I'm gonna keep to brand and just be unfiltered and blunt. Let me answer your first question. The first question is, obviously it's a complicated answer. I wish and I hope that more Armenians go into public service and run for public office. There are some that are, and I mean, the answer is, of course, we want that. And I'm hoping that when I look at the last 3 years and this horrendous catastrophe that we have watched unfold, from the invasion of Artsakh to the 3 years of hell that they had to go through, the 9 months of being starved, and then the final act of genocide, at least in the immediate, because the final act is really the denial of it, which we can expect. The only thing that I hope is that there's an awakening. There's a Zartunk, right? That the younger generations will sort of see the reality and come out of their cocoon, those that are, and that there will be a revival of like an awareness of that we need to really go into places where we have some sort of a say in what happens. There are 1.3 million Armenians in the US, and I think it was unacceptable that so little attention was given to Artsakh. Now, the second part of it, I voted for President Biden, and I've been a huge advocate for some of our members of Congress, such as Congressman Schiff and Congressman Frank Pallone, Senator Menendez, Congressman Brad Sherman. I'm disgusted by the Biden administration. I've been calling them out ever since Biden, for the first time in 2021, a week after recognizing the genocide, he decided to waive Section 907 of the Freedom Act and give 100 million to Azerbaijan.
I don't understand those governments, why they're giving money to Azerbaijan, which Azerbaijan has billions. I really don't understand. Is that money, or they're giving them technology or weapons?
Well, everything. I mean, when Trump was president, I mean, Trump really greenlighted Erdogan and Aliyev to invade Artsakh. And about a year before that, Pompeo, Secretary of State at the time, was rapidly waiving U.S. laws and policies so that U.S. can supply arms to Azerbaijan. So, and the same thing has happened under the Biden administration. Of course, now they're saying that they're going to cut off aid to Azerbaijan, but the damage has been done. The United States facilitated the Artsakh genocide. Let's get blunt. Let's sort of call it what it is. And I don't think that any one of our elected officials, and even those that are fighting the hardest for us, did everything in their power to stop it. I think they still succumb to politics, geopolitics, petropolitics, and politics of respectability. Because I think what I would have liked to have seen is the Armenian Congressional Caucus to have a sit-in in Congress and say, we're not going to move until the U.S. does something to end the blockade when the Lashin corridor was blockade. But that didn't happen. It was very anemic. It was very theatrical and, you know, calls. I hate that word now. It's like everyone, I call on the Azerbaijan government to do this, or I have deep concerns for this. There was so much theatrics and political gesturing.
Look at Israel. They went even there. The president himself, $100 billion that they wanted to give them. Everything was action. But in Armenia, it was all words. In Israel, it's action.
Unfortunately, I think you know this. I think most people who are watching know this. It comes down to the basics, which is that Armenia doesn't have a lot that helps the world in terms of natural resources, notably oil and gas. And since we are in an energy crisis worldwide, Aliyev is taking advantage of that because Europe is so dependent on Azerbaijani oil. Of course, they're turning a blind eye to the fact that they're buying Russian oil because it's laundered through Azerbaijan. But nonetheless, Azerbaijan has a lot of things that they want, including access to the Iranian border. So it's hard to have leverage in a chess game, if you will, when Armenia doesn't have oil and gas, and it's a landlocked country, and such, And then you have Turkey, which is taking advantage of the fact that it's a NATO nation, sort of out of control, unchecked, playing both sides, helping Russia to slow down NATO's expansion, but on the other hand, also trying to play game with the U.S. It's really ugly. I mean, when you look at it, it's ugly politics of at the end of the day, all these sort of fantastical claims of moral this and responsibility and human rights. It's just applied very subjectively, depending on what country.
Doesn't make nothing. Let's let's go from the local to more into Armenia. Do you follow Armenia stuff? What's going on there?
I do. So I don't get too much into politics within Armenia, but I do my sort of independent research.
Okay, so Pashinyan dispatched Garo Palin to do his dirty laundry in California. Garo Palin, I interviewed him maybe 10 years ago. And he was pushing human rights, democracy in Turkey. So now he failed doing that. So he's now trying to do in Armenia. So he comes in California. He tells Californians, I have video. If you want, I could run it. He says, Russia handed Artsakh to Azerbaijan. Russia didn't give that them. It was the politics in Armenia is so poison. When like in Syria, like I don't care about Russia, but when you have just one ally, you have to do everything to please that ally. Like Syria, for 10 years, Russia supported Syria, kept Syria alive. But in Armenia, they keep attacking Russia. Russia is this, Russia is that, And consequently, Russia said, go ahead, go do whatever you want. So Russia didn't sold Artsakh. It was Pashinyan who sold it because Pashinyan, he came in power. His objective was that,
I think, well, with all due respect, even I disagree on this. Here's the thing. I don't deny that there are a lot of problems within Armenian government and all of that. Of course, it's not surprising what's been happening for 3 years. How could there not be so much turbulence there? But what I disagree with you is Russia's role. Russia had a security treaty with Armenia And when Artsakh was attacked, Putin said, "Oh, part of illegal."
I know you're cutting. I don't know why. What's happening?
Oh, my sound? Is this better? Can you
Yeah,
hear me?
yeah.
Okay. So Russia did not honor its treaty when Artsakh was invaded, saying that, oh, our treaty was with Armenia. But when Armenia itself, as a sovereign nation, was attacked multiple times, including last September, again, Russia stepped back and didn't do anything. Russian peacekeepers, according to the November 9th, 2020 agreement, were supposed to keep Armenians of Artsakh safe. But for 9 months, Armenians of Artsakh were anything but safe. They were basically subject to genocide, and Russia didn't do anything. You know, when we look at this and we look at the stakes of Putin's sort of deteriorating power on the Western front, of course, he wants to keep his sort of Eastern and Southern allies strong, including Turkey, who's bidding for him, who is constantly sort of fighting the U.S. for the expansion of NATO. And then there is Aliyev in Azerbaijan, who is laundering Russia's oil and gas, which the world is supposed to have boycotted. So when it comes to this, why would Putin fight for Armenia? What the Russian peacekeepers failed to do was what was on the agreement, you know, and they handed over. And we have multiple occasions of Russian peacekeepers actually allowing Azerbaijani spies and assassins to enter Artsakh under the sort of disguise of Russian peacekeepers. So Russia has shown that it's not an ally to Armenia, and I am glad that Armenia finally said, we're going to get out of CSTO, and we're no longer going to just rely on Russia for our security, because when Armenia needed it, it was nowhere to be found. And even now, with Sunni in danger, Russia isn't doing anything. So I understand that the Russia-Armenia relationship is very complicated. One of the reasons is that a decade or two back, when former presidents sold a lot of Armenia's industries to Russia, Armenia has become reliant on Russia in certain ways, especially with energy. So cutting them off or severing, it's not that easy. However, I'm glad that Armenia is seeking security treaties elsewhere, such as in France or India, etc.
Okay. Well, I don't think that will work, but we'll see. Like even now with this buying a couple of, I don't know, radars and stuff from France, and if tomorrow Georgia says, why you can't go through it, I'm wondering what Armenia gonna do. You know, so it's bad politics. This idiot, he has no idea what he's doing. He's revengeful. He created this hatred between Armenia and Russia, and Russia knew this, and that's why for them is a retaliation. And so a little country, 3 million people, is gonna retaliate against 150 million Russians. It's just, there is 2 million Armenian there. There is millions of dollars every year comes to Armenia. It doesn't matter how much you hate Russia, but they still is your closest ally. You must, like it's just like you work for a company, right? You don't like the boss, but you need that paycheck.
But it's not a closest ally. It's really not.
What it was.
Russia used Armenia to leverage its position with Azerbaijan and Turkey. And Russia actually is trying to see Armenia's only viable trade route and trade partner is Iran, right? It's a landlocked country. It's been closed borders with Azerbaijan and Turkey. And it's very important for that route through Sunni to remain open, so that trade through China and India that go through Iran and up to Georgia go through Armenia. That's a lot of revenue. Putin is actually trying to find an alternate or build an alternate route uh, through the eastern part of Sunik that will go all the way up to Russia and just completely bypass Armenia. So we really see, I'm a journalist. So I have to look at what's fact and what's fiction. I can't do speculation. I just have to look at anything that we know for a fact. When you look at these facts, it just shows you that Armenia is not on Russia's priority. Russia's priority is Russia, obviously,
Well,
and then
who
Azerbaijan
is
and
on
Turkey.
Armenian priority? Nobody.
No, you're right. You're not, because we don't have all of these things to leverage. We don't have all these things to
Look,
leverage.
during Kocharian, you know, they had great relationship with Jacques Chirac, with France. They had relationship with Russia. They were trying to establish with the United States. But you know, this idiot came, he just turned everything upside down. You know,
Armenia still has a really good relationship with France and Macron. But we also have to understand that, well, first of all, there are things and elements that we're not aware of, and some of it for a good reason, because you can't have a nation's, you know, all of their initiatives and such be out in public. So we don't really know what we don't know. But in terms of Armenia's relationship with France, it's very strong. But at the end of the day, France also, you know, Macron has to consider that he's the president of France and his people. And France, too, like Italy and Germany, has stake in Azerbaijani oil. So they're sort of, you know, they have to also balance that.
Exactly.
But nonetheless, I think France has come a long way and has done a lot, from offering peacekeeping troops under the auspices of UN. And now they just signed a weapons purchase with Armenia. I think that says a lot. I think France has stepped up more than anyone else, and no one else has done that. You know,
well, France always did, because France has 500,000 Armenian, so that's why France always did. This is nothing new, you know. So nobody can take credit. I think their.
But I'm just saying that relationship hasn't soured.
No,
that relationship is there, and it's a strong relationship.
Yeah. Like even Iran, it's a dilemma of Armenian. Like, for example, dealing with Iran, and then you have West is against Iran. You know, so it's just a dilemma. But you need an intelligent diplomatic person to maneuver all this. We don't have that in Armenia. This is the problem. This idiot has no business experience, no diplomatic experience, no military experience, and he's just plowing through it, whatever comes in his way. And this is like, if you look at this government, there is not a single person. I mean, he always says Jogovurt, but there is not a single person from Jogovurt. It's all are those people. Look, those are the people who came and took over the government from street. These are the people in the government. There is so much intelligent people in diaspora in Armenia. They could bring them, make them.
Wally, I'll say this. I think the current administration in Armenia could definitely use some better communications and public relations. So I'd be the first one to tell you that. But let's not forget, and let's not forget the people that were in charge before this administration, okay? The oligarchs and what they did, and all the industries that were sold to Russia.
Yeah, but industry was sold.
Fair.
Look, industry was sold during Levon Ter-Petrosyan. That's where Armenia collapsed.
Kocharian mostly.
No, mostly is Levon Ter-Petrosyan. That was his time. You know,
He started it. But Kocharian really perfected the art of.
Look, I'm old enough to watch these things. The economy collapsed. They had no even fuel. They had no salary to pay. That's why they went back Kocharian to come and run, you know. And Kocharian then come force himself in, you know. Like, I mean, it's easy to blame those guys.
Kocharian used the office to become a billionaire. So let's not get into that, because I don't want to mudsling. I really believe in being in the solution. I believe in being in the solution, and there have been a lot of mistakes made. I admit to that. Um, what I think Armenia is doing right now is playing chess. I've used this sort of analogy before. Armenia is on a chessboard, but it's not really allowed to play. Everyone is like pushing it around. And maneuvering through that is really difficult. And you talked about Iran. Iran is another complicated a complicated sort of relationship. So Iran is
piece of the puzzle.
Right. So Iran is very sort of interested in keeping the Sunni as part of Armenia because that will ensure that it can have clear access to Georgia and then the Black Sea for trade. Also, Iran doesn't want Sunni to be invaded by Azerbaijan because then Israel will set up camp there to monitor it and all of that. And so Armenia also relies on Iran because it's the only viable trade partner and such. So that's great. But let's sort of look at the other side. When Artsakh was invaded, Iran's foreign minister congratulated Azerbaijan. Okay, so there it is. The second thing is, I don't think that if Armenia was to be attacked, that Iran will intervene. Iran will not, because that will open up a lot for Iran. So again, it's like a really sort of volatile relationship there where Armenia sort of has to keep its relationship intact with Iran, but we can't have any unreasonable expectations because Iran can't give any opportunity or reason to the US to for any kind of a war or attack or anything like that. And I think that's what the US would want. I think one of the things that US, especially if we were to go under a Republican White House, would want is for Sunni to be under Azerbaijan, and so that Iran is further isolated and cut off from the world. And that's pretty scary because the worst would be for Armenia.
Tomorrow, if Azerbaijan attack Armenia, which is they're drumming these things, whether it's going to happen or not, but who's going to come defend Armenia?
I don't think that anyone will. I think Armenia is on its own, sadly. Their end game has always been invasion of Sunni. That's always been their end game. It's so that they can connect Nakhichevan to mainland Azerbaijan, and that's what they're aiming for. I'm actually surprised it hasn't happened, and I think the reason it didn't happen is because of what's happening in Israel and Palestine. But that's one of the reasons I've been screaming in a way, saying, let's just not sit and do nothing and wait for them to attack, because I think the attack is pretty imminent. I mean, Secretary Blinken, who's demonstrated that he's definitely appeasing Aliyev, has even said that it's very likely that Sunni will be invaded at some point. There'll be an attack, and he said this about a week ago, and he said it in about 2 to 3 weeks. So you and I are on the same page. I mean, it's like, what are we doing about it? Do we have Armenia doesn't have the weapons Azerbaijan has. Azerbaijan has been stockpiling weapons for years in billions, and it has Turkey to back it. I wish I had all the answers, but I don't. But I know what I don't know, and I know what I do know. What I do know is that Armenia will not be able to defend itself, I don't think. Again, if there's something that I don't know, I hope that's correct. But I'm worried, just like you.
Because Armenia, the reason the first war, they won because Armenia was united. That was the reason they won, because everybody said, we are going to Caspian Sea. And they could have. if that stupid Levon Petrosyan didn't stop him. They were going to take. But now Armenia is so divided, everybody said, I'm not going to go fight for Pashinyan. There is this problem.
I'll give you another sort of perspective. In the early 90s, Azerbaijan's oil industry was barely picking up the steam. It was at the infancy of its renaissance. So they did not have the money, the power, the military at the time.
So do Armenian. Armenian was taking over Azerbaijani tax.
But they were on equal grounds. But in 2020, when Artsakh was invaded, they were not on equal grounds. I mean, Azerbaijan's weaponry was the most sophisticated, bought from Russia and Turkey and Israel and parts from Canada and such and such. So there were no longer equals in that terms. And of course, Erdogan shipped jihadists, ISIS, and mercenaries from Syria, Libya, Pakistan to do the dirty bidding. It shows the power and the bravery of the Armenian soldiers who were able to keep this and to withhold
on the bravery
for 44 days.
On the bravery side, in fact, Azerbaijani opposition, he was complaining. This is just a couple of weeks ago. He was complaining about Azerbaijan when this last war, I think September 19, whatever it was. He was complaining that Azerbaijan sent 60,000 soldiers. They could not break through Artsakh. Artsakh, see, they fight. So the problem was not Armenian soldiers, not Armenian military, is the incompetent leader. That was the problem. You guys at some point has to admit that. Armenian are fighters, the military. He never sent regular army to go fight. He just sent those 18, 19-year-olds to get killed. So even Azerbaijanis are admitting that they could not. In fact, 1 week after the ceasefire, Aliyev himself says if Armenia waited 1 week, we'll lose this war. So we watch Azerbaijan.
I think you're repeating what I'm saying, which is the bravery of the Armenian soldier.
Yes.
and the courage of it. In terms of what was done and wasn't done by the current administration, I have to say I don't know. I don't know what their strategy was. I don't know what all the things to be considered and what they did or why they did it. I couldn't defend it. I couldn't denounce it. I have to say, it's internal, and I have no idea.
Yeah, the Armenian military was. There is no way it would be defeated. I guarantee you. I don't care what weapons they had. They could not defeat them. But there was all this corrupt government you have in there, and caused all this pain for Armenia.
Well, you can't say what what weapons they had, because some of the drones that were used in the 2020 attack are so sophisticated. It's not that easy to say that, because when it comes to drones, it doesn't matter how brave you are. You're being attacked from the sky. You can't even see who's attacking you or when they're going to attack you. So we do have to.
They run out. The last war, the things, they even run out of that. Believe it or not. But Armenia has the most advanced ballistic missiles. Iskander, only Russia and Armenia had. People say Russia didn't give to Armenia. The ballistic missile could blow up all those pipelines, the dam, the cities, but the leadership didn't use it. This is the problem. I get so pissed off when they blame the military. The military has everything, but he didn't allow them to use.
I don't hear anyone blaming the military.
Well, there are.
There is about
1,000 soldiers now in jail, leaders, generals in jail, because they're blaming them. Say, even Pashinyan's wife went on TV, said, "Oh, we had 11,000. They run away." So they're trying to blame on the military. Military is not the problem in Armenia, but it's the leadership.
I think Armenian soldiers are incredibly brave.
Yes.
So I'm right there with you. Um, Again, in terms of internal decisions and strategies and such, I'm not privy to that. I was never privy to that. I can't comment on those. I can only comment on what's public and what I do know. And I have done my own sort of interviews and questioning and such. Um,
Okay, so
that's what I could talk about.
you are a journalist. I am sort of journalist, but I know I came from information technology world where we troubleshoot stuff, you know. So journalism is not science. Journalism is like algorithm. You know, you look at this, you look at that, you look few things, and that's how you came to conclusion. You say this is the reason this happened because of this, you know, and this is why we look at the military and we look the administration incompetency and all that. You put all that together and you came to conclusion how all these things happen, you know. But we are not scientists in as far as political science, you know. So. But I know, unfortunately, this Armenia, all of us been demoralized, all of us. And you know, like even before the war, I don't know if you could see this, I made a video, and because I honestly believe in result, is I said, you could go see the video. Let me just show you the picture. Okay, you see this here? There was 175,000 people watched this, and about 2,000 liked it. Okay, this was the video I made on July 6, 2020. Okay, and it's there. You could go watch it. I could send you the link. My idea was, let's not depend on Armenia. Let's diaspora. We are spending millions building churches and this and that. You know, let's go to someplace friendly country like Greek. Let's build. We have the technology, because I come from technology world. We could build drones. We could build satellites. We could bring every advanced stuff outside Armenia. So Turkey and other will not have an excuse as, Armenia is building this, let's go bomb it, because Armenia is a small country.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned this, because it goes back to something you said about Russia. Do you know that so much of what Armenia has wanted to do just in the last 3 years to defend itself from buying military equipment to aligning with different nations and such, that Russia has not only gotten in the way, but has threatened Armenia of retaliation if they do that. So Armenia has never had that kind of a freedom to do.
I'm not talking about Armenia. I'm talking this in diaspora.
I understand, but it would have to go to Armenia, right?
But,
and if Russia says, you can't accept this, you can't have this,
I don't believe
we're going to cut off your gas.
Honestly, I don't believe Russia could do that or can stop any of that stuff, you know. And so, you know, like this whole gimmick now, 5 years ago, the corrupt government, now is the Russia, so it's always going to find blaming somebody. But Armenian could build those technology. There is enough money to research and do. Like look at you, you're struggling, people to give you some money to do this. Just a few weeks ago, a guy or family gave $8 million to university, Armenian American University, you know. So Armenia has 10, 20 universities, you know, its own, very well developed, you know.
Absolutely.
But
we're building. There's a big city being built. For education.
So they have there. They don't need this whole money we're pouring in there. Look at Artsakh. We spent billions on Artsakh, building roads, library, all now we handed to Azerbaijan.
Yeah, but billions. We didn't know. We didn't know. We were supporting Artsakh, and we didn't know this was going to happen. I listen. I agree with you. We have been demoralized, but we can't it's okay to like lick your wounds and feel sorry for yourself for a minute, but we got to get out of it and getting the solution and getting the really like what are we going to do? We need to activate as many people as possible. We need to look at the solution from many point of views, not just Armenia, their government, their military, but also what are we doing in diaspora? You know, I've been saying this, and I'm going to continue to say this. This war that's been waged against Armenians. I say Armenians and not Armenia or Artsakh is because it's against all Armenians, whether they're in Artsakh or Armenia or diaspora. Half of it is an information war. Half of it is a war of propaganda and how they can deceive the world and all of that. And, you know, TAL is fighting that. TAL is the only organization. And I say that not because I'm the founder of it, because it's been deemed the only organization by LA County Commission on Human Relations that does this kind of advocacy for Armenians. And we're going to fight as much as we can. But there's a lot, as you can imagine. There's a lot. I mean, you know, there's some that come and go, and we just don't have the bandwidth or the resources to do it.
I would wish somebody there, instead of giving $8 million to somewhere, send it to you. I'm sure you could do much more with that $8 million.
We'll take 100,000. I mean, you know, we there's so much that we want to do, but we don't have the budget. We just don't have the budget to do it.
Our Armenian money, it's not going in the right place. This is the problem. People just give because they like some organization. They just give millions to go, you know. But this is the problem. We don't have centralized place. In fact, this program, when I did, it was like every Armenian commit $10 a month. You know, this program wouldn't work with the technology. And then times like this was way before 3 months before the war, because I knew that something can happen. So we need to build. And like, for example, Greek, the best friend we have is Greek. You could go in Greek, build at that, you know. And we have...
Well, Greece was relatively quiet too through the last 3 years. And I understand they have their own stuff to worry about. Turkey is also attacking them. But, you know, as far as going back to what you said, look, there are a lot of great Armenian organizations out there, and a lot of them are doing great work, and they deserve the donations and the support and such. My wish is that it's balanced so that we're addressing different things. Of course, in the immediate, we need to address the Armenian refugees from Artsakh and really helping them with housing and food and medicine and everything, and trauma and
it's heartbreaking. It's really heartbreaking when you see some of those videos about those refugees, those kids.
I can't even, I mean, some of them, my heart breaks so much, I can't even look at the pictures after like 1 second. But beyond that, how do we ensure their future? How do we ensure that, you know, they don't just survive, but they thrive? And the way they're going to thrive is if we work together and we
I think they're gonna leave Armenia, all of them, because they don't feel in Armenia. Armenians do hate Artsakh people, and so
I hope you're right. I hope you're not right.
Already 5,000 left, and so anyone you could. And of course, the old and the people, they're gonna have no choice to stay. But most of them, they're gonna leave.
I think this is an opportunity. You know, we have to take lemons and make lemonade. Take this opportunity to unite. Put away this. You're from Artsakh. You're from Armenia. You're from Lebanon. You're from Iran. You're from this. You speak this dialect and all of that, and unite. That there's a new Zartung. There's a new awakening. That we all pull our weight, and then some. Okay, not do or give what's comfortable, but maybe a little bit uncomfortable. Okay, I don't want to toot my own horn, but there are days when I'm just so exhausted from the different sort of plates that I'm juggling that, you know, I just don't have. I have information overload, and I'm not complaining. It's what I do, and I enjoy being of service. And I think if a lot of us, I'm not saying all of us, but a lot of us were to get a little bit out of our comfort zone, this just now that we are in crisis, you know,
Big time.
maybe
Big
we
time.
can relax, but right now we need to do a lot more than we're doing now.
Yeah. Yes, unfortunately, we are in big time, in big trouble. I never seen, you know, like I grew up, like our parents, grandparents were crying about that genocide, and now we're facing this one, you know. So there is no ending this Armenian.
Yes, and we must stand and say this is the last one,
Yeah.
and we will not tolerate. We won't even allow another one to be a threat. So this has got to be it.
Yeah.
But we've got to do something about it for that to be a reality, and not just a
You
slogan.
cannot fight if you're not united.
Absolutely.
You cannot.
Absolutely.
Armenians always were united, but now it's in a million pieces. And you cannot even have a conversation with someone, then excuse if you, oh, you're with Russia, oh, you're with a former, oh, you're this. You cannot have even, me and you now, we could talk, but you cannot have this conversation with other people. You know,
I'm not with anyone. I'm not
sorry?
with any nation. I'm not with any government.
No.
I'm from Armenia. I always say this. If we wake up one day and Ecmiadzin is being turned into a mosque, it doesn't matter who we can blame. It doesn't matter what mudslinging we do.
Yeah.
It's done. That's it.
Just like Artsakh. You could wake up one day, there's refugees from everywhere, you know.
Yep.
So, but anyway, so we at least talked about this thing. So I think all Armenian to be able to communicate whether they agree or disagree without hatred, you know. But you know, like I got Pashinyan is, you know. Let me show you this before we go. This is when Pashinyan came Los Angeles, he was very popular. That's where I shift the gear on Pashinyan, because I asked him 3 questions there where I knew he was an idiot, you know, to be honest with you. And that's where I started saying, this is the wrong person to govern, you know. But obviously, he created this major cult. We were a good friend. Now look at there. And what is his secretary, his press secretary, was taking our pictures. So, you know, I know this guy is a wrong guy. Armenia needs somebody has some brain in his head, has political understand diplomacy to get Armenia out of this mess. This mess.
I'll say this, Wally. I understand your point you're trying to make, but here's the thing. Part of that unity that you talk about, that I agree with, and part of keeping Armenia safe is working with who we have. Okay, I'm not a cheerleader for Prime Minister Pashinyan. He's not my best friend or anything like that. But for Armenia to be strong for now, we also need to make sure that we don't weaken him from inside. But the question I put to you is this: who's next? Who are the people that have been developed? See, you know, Wally, that when it comes to the President of the United States, for the next 20 years, we kind of know who all the candidates are and who all the working people are, right? Like we know Newsom is working toward that, or Buttigieg is working toward that, and there are other stars. Who are the next prime ministers of Armenia? Who would you endorse?
But this is the question everybody asks. You tell me 8 million Armenian cannot find a prime minister or 10 people to be a governing Come on, this
Well,
is
it would have to be an Armenian citizen. So it has to
yes,
be
of
someone
course. Okay,
internally.
You tell me in Armenia there is so many professors, so many engineers. So I interviewed so many people with intelligence. For God's sake,
No, I agree with you. But what I'm saying is, one of the criticisms that Prime Minister Pashinyan gets is that he was a journalist. He didn't have diplomatic experience. He didn't have politics experience, etc. So, of course, there are so many incredible academics and incredibly um, worthy people. But I thought maybe you have someone that you can name and say, okay, well, this person is really brilliant.
well,
Um,
I could name you hundreds, but that's not the point. Then people will accuse me. You're supporting this, you're supporting that. But the point is, there is in Armenia lots of intelligent people that could do this. So we Armenia need, like, look in Israel. I bet they're gonna kick Netanyahu out because of this whole things. Because Israeli thinks this was his game he played. But in Armenia, look at in England. For energy crisis, they kicked the prime minister. 3 prime ministers so far being kicked out. When people fail, whether you are in business, whether you are in government, you quit. This guy refused to quit. This is the problem. Like, he 5 years been death and destruction in Armenia. In every country, when a leader screw up, they kick him out. But this guy has created this cult organization, and nobody dare to stand up to him. And this is the problem. I think until this guy don't get out of there and they create new government, you will not be unite Armenian. I guarantee you
well,
right now.
I have a name for you. Someone I know very well. I've interviewed him. She was in my documentary, Dr. Irina Kaplanyan. She is a former Deputy Minister of the Environment for Armenia. She is a Cambridge University PhD. She works for the World Bank. She teaches at the American University of Armenia. She's a brilliant political scientist. She's very bipartisan. She's just absolutely bipartisan, very pragmatic. That's one of the people.
Trust me. I mean, look, what is his name? Tatoyan. He's a very smart guy. I don't know if Arman Tatoyan. He was the ombudsman. He's
Yes,
very smart.
I know him very well, but I've also heard some other things from him.
Well, I don't know, but like, you need to bring maybe 10 people to get together, form provisional government, then make an election, like everybody, and make sure that everybody vote, not like last time 52% people didn't vote, And so Armenia, if you don't change the system, you will not unite people. Number 2, Armenia need victory. I don't care what victory, it need a victory to get this morale up a little bit. The soldiers need that. The country need. They need this. They need some victory. At least a new government will give some kind of victory. Armenia and say, okay, this guy screwed up. Let's see how those people could do. And there are lots of smart people in Armenia. Trust me. Every year, I used to go twice. All I was doing interviewing people.
Oh, I have been last few years. I've been interviewing people. I've met some brilliant people.
Yeah.
There's one thing to be brilliant. It's another thing to be in the system, to be the next leader, right? So to develop into the next leader. We in the US have become really good at developing that, right? So we see potential with someone, and then we vote them into mayor and then governor, and then we know that they're going to be somehow going up further than that.
But look, U.S. is 250-year-old country. One president cannot screw up. It's a huge economy. It's strong. You could have an idiot in the president. Still they run because you have solid country. Armenia is very vulnerable country. In need someone understand diplomacy and understand military, understand the geopolitics. This idiot doesn't understand anything. I told you that. First time I met this guy And that's why his wife invite me. I have the pictures. Invite me to government office. I went there. I said, I told his wife, I'm not kidding. I said, this guy is an idiot, because that time he was attacking here and there, going on TV. I said, you guys, your husband got already elected. Why is his this anger? Why can't he put his revenge down a little bit? I told his wife, he's a revengeful guy, So this is why Armenia, me, you, and others must try to find some people and introduce to Armenian people, say, look, this person could be this person. This is what we have to do.
And that's why I keep mentioning Dr. Raplanyan. I think she's
I don't know him.
Highly qualified.
I don't know her. Send me her information. I'll talk about her. We need to find not just 1, 2, 3, maybe 10 people to create a provisional government and organize, have people like them, because this, like Garo Pelin coming, trying to unite Armenian behind a divider, it doesn't work. That's why they invite me. I didn't go because I know it's a waste of time.
But I have to tell you, I was at the Gala for Center for Truth and Justice, an incredible organization, just last weekend, and Garo Pailan was there, and he gave the keynote speech. And he didn't promote anyone, any government, anything. And the epicenter, the theme of his speech was basically, forget about where you're from or what dialect you speak. We're all for Armenia. It was a very actually unifying speech, very moving.
But also he was also saying, Armenia, well, you gotta talk to Biden. Biden, if he says that, like, Armenians are fighting, they always fight in Washington. There's 2 Armenian organizations, ANC, Assembly. They're all fighting. Like God, the way you were talking, like Armenians are doing nothing in the United States. On his speech I watched in the where was that, UCLA or Armenian organization?
I think UCI.
Not UCI, no. It was, I watched, is in Los Angeles anyway. So,
Okay.
So it's, Garo, it would be great if he goes find some people in Armenia, and which he has he's a nice guy. He's a very decent guy. I mean, I have nothing against him. I like him. He could do great job, like to go find some people, unite Armenian around a couple of people, say, look, let's unite with those people. Then he would be doing great for Armenian cause. But uniting Armenian with a divider ain't gonna work. I mean, I'm a realistic guy. Yes, like for me, if I tomorrow say, oh, Pashinyan is great, let's unite with them. But there are millions of people hate them. How could you unite? You need, or new organization. You, me, and others have to find some people, create provisional government, and start from scratch. So the world will look as a little bit different, and that's...
Okay. Ultimately, it comes down to the serenity prayer for me. God gave me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. There's a lot that I don't have control over. And there's a lot that I have to say. I have to allow the Armenian government and all of that do their thing. I'm just not going to go in from some diaspora and try to preach them. What I'm going to focus on, what I can control, and what I can do on my part for my motherland. And that's advocacy, and that's fighting, not soft, passive advocacy, but really activism and fighting.
You're doing great job. Look, don't understand me wrong. You're, I think, doing great job. Otherwise, I wouldn't ask you to come and talk, because you're doing great job. You're expanding your things, and I have honestly, I don't know how you manage all these things. You have your own shows, and you have doing this tell stuff and everything. So you're doing great job. But to help Armenia get off this mess, we need also to contribute to get some good people in there to run the country. It's like a business. You need a new CEO. When a company is in trouble, what do they do first thing? They change CEO. And also remember, when I was in information technology, I make sure that technologically I am so advanced that my competitor will love me. They were giving me business. 30% of my business was coming from my competitor because I was so strong in technology. That's what you do. If you are weak, they'll eat you. I mean, this guy keep every day talking about peace, peace. We want peace. That doesn't work that way in the real world, And so this is. I hope you could find in your interviews some people. We could put some names together, and who knows, it might work. But everybody has.
We have a tough road ahead. But as not that I'm a fan of Churchill, but as Churchill said, if you're going through hell, keep going.
Yeah,
we just got to keep going, and we've got to inspire others to keep going, and we've got to lift people up and say, okay, you've had your sad lick my wounds moment. Now get up and get moving and get into action, because the alternative is just unthinkable. But I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic because I've seen what Armenians have done for centuries, and we're fighters.
But we are on edge now, so remember that. We are really on edge now. We don't know how these things could go in. It could go, hopefully, to better, but you're looking to vicious enemies surrounding Armenia, and you need some people know how to get Armenian out of this mess. But anyway, I thank you very much for taking your time coming. It's always a pleasure talking to you. And
Wally, thanks for thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, you're very welcome, and all the best to you. And those people, like there, and go help Tal. He's doing something.
Can I give him the website?
I think I have. Let me see, where is this? Here is his information. Founder and chair, Truth.
It doesn't have the website, but I'll just say it.
Well, it says, your email is there, yeah.
truthandaccountabilityleague.org is the website. Or if you see the contact there, you can shoot me an email. If you have questions or anything, just contact me. But yes. Thank you, Wally. I appreciate that.
Yeah, help Vic. He's really young, hardworking. All Armenia need some more Vics, because I'm too old. It's too late for me. My job is just to talk, because I did my part.
You're doing a lot of great service.
Yeah.
Lots.
I started this year 2000,
Wow.
And beside my business, I did this because this was my contribution to my mother tears, And so, but we always, the different generation has to kick in, has to do things.
Absolutely.
For example, when I say victory, what is named the guy who neutralized Talat Pasha? I mean, that was in my generation. It was a big, big boost for us. At least we had genocide, but we got those bastards, And then you had my generation. They start, because that Armenia, I don't know how old you are, Armenia went to the communists, and our parents, grandparents, they were all refugees. So literally Armenia disappeared from the map. Nobody. I used to go to England to say Armenian. Nobody knew what Armenians was. They called Romania. But then my generation, some courageous people blew up a couple of Turkish embassies. Even Turks didn't know their genocide. They start to know then, and so that's where most Western governments, they talked to Armenians. They said, look, let's do diplomatically. This is where this genocide recognition stuff start to come in a picture. But every generation, the people did their best. But now we need some boost. We need some boost.
It's gonna come.
Yes,
we just have to keep doing it.
I hope so.
We have to keep doing it. I'm optimistic that it's coming.
I hope
we
so.
just need to just pound, just keep going.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you very much. I wish you all the best.
Thanks, Wally.
Take care. We'll see you soon.